Okay, test, test, test. Mic now. Hello. Hello. I think we have a mic. All right. All right. I think let's rewind this, shall we? Yeah, in the meantime, there is a poll. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Adventure Bound. It's always an adventure. Mike should have been working fine. All I did was change the feed to the exact same feed it was on. But here we are, and we're off and running, of course. What's up, Rivers Ash Production? How's it going? Yeah, I do have a poll in the chat for what we want to make today, either a creature or an artifact. But I want to share with you some updates from last time. We will be talking about some tips, tools, and techniques a little bit today. It's sort of about the technique. I'm going to make sure that the mic is, yeah, okay, we're still good. But yeah, let's start with the update from last time. We had Shane McGinnis telling us about our Crossroads friend. If you came in for the Adventure Bound for Halloween, we worked on this guy. And this was a real light sketch with a little bit of a color overlay. And all I really did to fix it up was add some saturation. Worked on this for about an hour or so afterwards just to kind of clean it up. And then sometimes I'll add curves or some other adjustment layers just to tweak it a little bit, see what we like. But I think it turned out pretty good for what we were going for. But I want to talk about something we rarely talk about on here, and that is traditional work. There's been a few questions about what I use traditionally, and we are going to get into that. I went into some specifics about the tools I'm using, but only because there were questions. So if you might remember this guy, I'm not sure if you can recall him or not, but this was one of the first vote on what we worked on for the first episode, and I have gone back in and did a little bit of tweaking with this guy. Just worked on it a little bit here and there. The photos don't do it really any justice. I will show you what it looks like through the camera here in just a moment. But just to talk about tools, I do use toned paper, which I try to reflect my process digitally. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But let's see. So we've got... What is this? Okay, so we've got the tools, and I want you to share these just for a minute. The pencil I'm using is a Blackwing. It could be any pencil with a firm or something like it's a soft lead. I would say like a standard 2B almost. The Primo Blanco Euro Blend Charcoal. I'm not sponsored by any of these. These are just the tools I'm using. The Charcoal 59W. And this is where I wanted to highlight this. This reason this one has an asterisk on it is because I've always been searching for a bright white. I'm going to go to full screen and see if I can get this to show up a little bit better. So this is what that charcoal pencil does. It does not reflect in the photo exactly what we have. Back over to that. But that is an ongoing research project. Anybody has any suggestions for the brightest, whitest charcoal pencils? Preferably something that's workable. I will definitely take them. A kneaded eraser doesn't have to be Generals. This is Canson. We've got the Strathmore Toned Gray, which is this. And the mixed media is this normal sketch. Let me get rid of this. So this is a sketchbook page. There's a little bit more tooth in that, if you know what that means. There's just the paper's a little bit more grippy. So these are just some of the things I use day to day, and I'm always carrying one of these around. There's always reason to sketch something, or there's always a little bit of downtime. Yeah, that's something I want to share with everybody, just so that they would know that if you can't get to your Fresco or your Photoshop, a pencil, an eraser, and a piece of paper goes a long way. All right, so what are we doing? I'm going to check in on our poll. See what we have here. It looks like Artifact is leading by a lot. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. What's up, Derek? I see Derek in chat. Did I say hi to Clever, Marcia, Umacorn, Bruce? Thanks everybody for coming in. We're going to go ahead and get started. Now, artifact can mean a lot of things. You can just shout these at me because we're going to get started here. This is sort of the warm-up, stage of this. And as we move through these stages, I'm going to start jumping into the techniques and the demos and the tools. Let me jump in the tools right now. So you'll notice that the tone, this is not pure white. So I consider this a tool. The background that I use, I'm going to go ahead and add a layer so that I'm not just working on the background. The background I use is a little bit brighter than mid-gray. That's so that I can push and pull the lighting situation, and we will do a quick demo of that later on. But that's the base of my traditional as well. Not always, depends on the sketchbook, but I do like to push and pull the lighting that way. The artifact. So what I'm thinking, and an artifact can be a prop or anything. So if you guys have suggestions, I'm just going to start warming up. I'm going to be looking at both chats. Unfortunately, both of my chats are this way and that way. So it's almost like a conversation. I'm going to go ahead and get warmed up here. I'm just going to make some squibbles. I think I want to start with this soft brush. And we were talking about tools. There's a basic brush pack, and I think Jack might have a link to it that does have this brush, which is a soft edge, hard edge brush. I know you guys that are familiar with my work have seen me use this for quite some time. And then a chalk brush. And I know Val uses something similar to this chalk brush. But I do explore other brushes, and I have a few more that I use off and on. But what are we thinking about artifact? I'm thinking like a little statue, a little totem or something. I don't know. What would that be? What would we, maybe a cat totem? Let me see. Try to look up some reference. All right, and we're going to stylize this, so I don't think I'm too concerned about where this is going to go. Because I do want this to be almost like a little totem slash, yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. You can kind of start to see some cat shapes going on here. But I am going to stylize it, I think. I don't think I'm going to go with... Maybe the tail comes down here. Or from around the side. I don't know. I like that it's on a pedestal. I don't know. I'm just working with this. I'm still looking at chat for any options that you guys might have. Thanks, Jack, for posting that link to the brush pack. Yeah, it has this. It also has a bonus. Let's just make a little line here. It has a little bonus smooth brush. If you guys have never made a smoothing brush and you want to work a little bit more, not saying you have to have a smooth brush to work painterly, but it does help in some occasions, even just to kind of, knock off some of the edges if you want to draw back into them. But that's also in that pack. So I think there's only 3 in there. Keeping it simple. I have been Mercurial. Hi. We have summoned Mercurial. It wasn't me. It was the cat. It was the potential of cats. All right, so I'm just going to work on this as a shape right now. And this is also another great way to think about how you want to work. So I kind of drew some real rough, sketched in some things here. That's fine. That's all good. That's definitely a way to work. One of the techniques I kind of wanted to show, and I know that a lot of people take advantage of this, but drawing with the lasso tool, and what I mean by that is just using your lasso tool, and I've got it set right now. If you can go over here and change. I should have changed my, it's gonna be really small for you guys. Let's see here. So if you change it to new selection, it will change, it will not have a little plus by it. There is a little plus by it right now. If you change it to add selection, then every time I draw, I can add to that selection. So that's what I have it set to right now. And that way I can just draw with it and make selections. I said I wanted this to be stylized, so, you know, let's make it a little bit more stylized. And none of these decisions are final. If you know anything about the way I work, if you've seen any of my streams, I keep it loose. Nothing is precious. I don't want to get caught in I drew something that works and I'm scared to mess it up. I go by the philosophy of if you've drawn it once, you can draw it again. So let's start with that. I'm going to go ahead and just Shift F5 and fill this with a solid gray. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Oh, you know what? Since we're going to use the gradient tool, I'm going to select the gradient tool and just use what we have. Oh, hello. Just going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to get rid of some of these points by just dragging them off of this line. Can I do it that way? No, I have to add this one. Okay. Double click on your whatever point you want to adjust. And I think I'm just going to do that. It's going to be a little bit brighter at the top. Okay. So that's one way you can draw with the lasso tool. I want to keep my drawing active, so I'm going to pull the sketch up top, and you can see it kind of hinted at. And we can work from this, I believe. Before we get going any further, this is what I would like to do with the lighting situation. So right now I've kind of hinted at that it's kind of top-down lit. I don't know that that's where I would want to go with this. You know, depending on how dramatic you're trying to make the prop or the artifact in this case, it could be, you know, something you really focus on, making real deep shadows. And we might do that. In fact, why don't we do it where it's a little bit more top down? But this is where we draw our cone. And if you've seen me do this before, it's just a real simple reminder of where we're going to add our light, this being the light source, this direction. And it's probably, you know what, we are just getting started, but I kind of want to go ahead and get into this demo now. So we could start painting this saying, oh, our light source is going to be up here, and then start scratching in, you know, how you want this to lay out. There's a little nose happening. Maybe a little bit of this fluff, the light back here. All fine and good. I have done this a lot of numerous times, so I kind of know where I want to take this. But if you're new to lighting and staging your lighting, let me just hop in and make something. Maybe this will make things a little bit simpler. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm trying. I'm going to try. I'm going to turn that off. We're going to add a new layer. And I'm going to make a little sphere. I was just going to load this up and have it ready. But then I thought we could show off the gradient tool again for some of its... last time I did this demo, I think it was in like April or May. And it was... Sorry about that. Let's see. It was this gradient tool did not work this way. I think it was in in beta at the time. But I do want to choose the gradient tool and then go into the radial lighting, radial gradient. And I'm just going to grab this, pull this to our point. So right now it kind of has a light, sort of a light source. If I press Control Command H, you can hide your widget. and you can kind of see where we're going. But I don't want to stop there. I want there to be a core shadow and a highlight and all of those things. So you can just start coming in here and adding. Double click on the spot that you add. Click OK. This could be our core. I'm going to drag this down. It might be a little bit too dark. You know what? It's fine. But I am going to add a few more spots. And you can, which is really cool, you can just sample with this to kind of create the gradient from what's already existing, which I kind of like. Click OK. Move this around. Maybe add another one in here. And then I want to add a bright highlight. Something like that. And then from there you can, once you deselect, you can go back in and adjust things if you'd like. You can double click to get to the standard, what was the standard way of editing a gradient, and it will still make those changes for you. And I think I'm going to do that just a little bit. Just increase some of this, and I think maybe make this a little bit lighter. Somewhere in there. And I think in the last demo, I just painted it and called it done. But that was so much simpler and a little bit smoother. I just used the gradient tool and my brushes to paint it last time, which is also a fun exercise. But I wanted to show you how you can do that with the gradients. Super quick, super easy. Now, getting into this. So we're talking about our lighting for the little cat artifact. But in this case, let me go ahead and make a new layer. We're going to be talking about the direction on this sphere, and practicing how to render is essentially what we're doing here. So we've got our cone, our light. That's not quite the light angle. It's a little bit sharper. There we go. Something like that. All right, and if you've seen me do this before, this is the thinking of your sphere as clay. And I'm gonna go ahead and copy our mask over so that I can draw outside the lines. But I'm gonna sample all of the highlights and values on this sphere to just start sculpting. And I'm using the soft brush, which has the soft edge, and you can make little marks in here and add a highlight to the light side, and you start to already see, oh, that's pretty simple. I'm just grabbing from, if I'm going further down the sphere, I grab from, deeper in the shadow because it's going to be more in shadow. And I just think of this as the gradient falls off the sphere, so does the light value. There are exceptions to this, because if I want to go ahead and make this, make a shape, I'm just going to draw the shape first. Let's say like a triangle or something coming out of this. It's really hard to see it. I'm going to switch brushes real quick. But let's say this is a, I don't know, a shark fin or something. I don't know. But I'm just going to fill this up, this little shape here. I may have to go a little bit darker in our shadow, just so that it stands out a little bit more. But you can add these protruding objects by making sure that you're thinking about the lighting that would still hit the front side of this. And then we would have a cast shadow that would follow the light. I'd probably come in here and smooth this out a little bit. Make sure that our highlight is more on the front than on the side. But as it gets closer to the sphere, it may not show up as much. The fall off of the light would potentially still be there. This is not the best example of this. But to keep it organic, let's say we go back into our soft brush, and let's just add some more, maybe this wiggles out into like some kind of some kind of little wrinkle or something. I don't know. I'm just trying to keep it organic down here. And I would probably add back in some of this reflected light under, just so you get the idea that even though the shape is here, it still has a core shadow, it has reflected light, it has all of those things happening. But there is a I will just post, or I won't post. Jack, if you could post the link to the previous demo that I did this, it goes a little bit more in depth. I talk about it a little bit more, but I just want to show this as a practice guide for rendering and setting up your lighting. And it's basically just remember that the further your light source is from its highlight, so will be the brightness in, you know, of the other I'm really getting confusing you here. The shadows as they dip around this curve will also be darker as it gets closer to the core light, and depending on if you're making the core shadow, and depending on what you're doing, if you wanted to add scratches into this, like I'm just going to make some quick harsh marks, well, it gets really deep, but there's still you've created a lip now that would reflect or catch that light. So depending on where you're making these marks and how deep you want to go with the shadow, then you have a guide there already set up for you. If you want to make even darker cuts, like say you have some scratches underneath, the same thing applies. You'll get a little bit of uplight, a little rim light on that, and it'll still add that scratch look. Let's see. So that's that. Let's get back to our artifact. Let's see. Where were we on this? Okay. All right. We've got a little cat going on here. And we have a lighting direction. So we're somewhere. We're somewhere good, I think. I'm actually going to start with the lighting that we had. And I'm going to work with a different brush. I'm going to work with something that's a little bit, the charcoal brush. And we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to try and carve this out. Carve this cat shape with what little shadow information I already have here. And again, this is probably going to be stylized. So, oh, you were talking about that demo I did earlier. Nice, nice. Yeah, go check out the video. I think it's a little bit more. It's better explained in the video. But I didn't want to go from today's stream without mentioning that. So now I'm just thinking about the form of this. So I've looked up reference. I've got a few things going for us. I don't want to adhere to the reference too much because I do want this to be stylized in a way that, let me make a copy of this, that I have a little bit more control, I guess not control, but a little bit loose. So I'm not being like overly conscious of I don't know how I want. I kind of want to make sure that I'm staying loose and free flowing. I don't want to lose the energy of the drawing. That's always important. And so that's kind of where I am with this. Whether it will retain a cat-like look, well, we'll see. We shall see. And I think the shadows, if I made them, this is more top lit. And we would have a little bit of an underhang of a shadow there. And I'm going to go ahead and start dropping in these darker values. So yeah, if anybody has any questions about any of that or anything that's things you've asked or wanted to ask throughout the rest of the show, or, from previous shows, now is the time. And really, I'm just trying to think about what the hard edges might look like, how this might work as a carved object. But it's all the same basic principles. Like, actually, I'm going to make a copy of this so I can merge all of this down. There's another thing. I do like to work on the same layer, but I make copies so that I can always reference back if I need to. What material would this be? That's another thing. Like, I'm always trying to think about all of the things that might affect the final render. What material would it be? Is that material, let's say if it's glass or, something along those lines, is it shiny or is it frosted? Because, there's tons of options even within the type of material. Why does this have to be the last episode? That's a great question. Primal Saint is asking. I don't think it has to be. It's just the only one that's scheduled. Let the folks over at Adobe Live know that you want more, I guess. Hey, it won't be my last stream, regardless. So. See, let me turn this off. There we go. I think we have another layer there. It's definitely the last for this quarter. One moment. Let me grab some water. Okay. You're on it. Okay. Cool. Limestone. Porcelain. Oh my gosh. Yeah, bring those puns on out. Let's go, guys. Let's go. I need those puns. It's a fun fact. Puns actually fuel the Adventure Bound show. So get those in. It's science. It's all science. Everyone knows that. All right, and there will be times like this where I'm like you can tell that I'm kind of like not pushing the values. It's quasi-intentionally at this point. Sometimes, though, it does get to be like I'm kind of locked in on a value, and I shouldn't be. I should be exploring a little bit more. And what I will do is, let's just say this is one of those times. What I will do is take a couple of things I will do. First, if you don't know about changing your view to the flip horizontal, I have mine set to a hotkey. Definitely do that. Gives you a little bit different perspective on what you're working on. It gives you a cheap way to do fresh eyes. So that's one thing. And so far, still looking good. Still enjoying it. Still works for me. The other part of that is I will just add a curves layer. And you saw this earlier with the Crossroads Demon. If you were paying attention, adding a curves layer here and just like bumping all of these up. I can link this by doing a clipping mask to it. And then adjust. And then we're starting to get a little bit deeper. It's too much. But all of that to taste. Now the key thing here too is if I really like this is something I'm like, oh, this is good. This is the values I want. This is where I want to start from now. Then I don't quite like how bright the highlights are here. So I am going to bring this down to about right there. And if I like where it is, I'll make a copy of that and I will merge this down. So now all of that is locked in. All of those adjustments I made are locked in. I kind of like how big, like wide this snoot is. I did not plan on that. I mean, I didn't plan on any of this, so there's that. But that is what's a lot of fun about doing these shows, is like I come in here, you guys tell me what to draw, we figure it out together. Maybe I can spread a little bit of info that you guys can use, and then hopefully we all have a good time. Ancient pyramid stone, marshmallow cat. Now that would have. I don't know if you're talking, Marsha. I don't know if you're talking about the material, but that could have been interesting. A fur material, yep. Definitely. I think I keep leaning towards like a jade, but the stone part of it is nice too. And it's a great little segue to talk about, well, let's say we're at this point of our cat. I think it reads as a cat. What do you guys think? I think we're getting there. Maybe we can make, another adjustment here. Just kind of playing off of our already established colors or values, sorry. Oh, I was going somewhere with that. Oh yeah, so we're talking about stone and such. Here, let's work on this real quick. Let's not quite go there. I want to make this work for me a little bit. Like there's a little bit more meat to it. But once you've established some values that you're into, all you're doing now is just grabbing the ones you like, sampling those ones that you're into, and then rolling with it, So yeah, I'm just sampling in the dark, the shadowed areas to get the shadows I like. I think we have a little bit of an angle issue with this, and I'm going to fix that hopefully by sampling it. Bringing that down. Better. Warmer, closer. Again, not stressing it though. Like, there's no point in stressing this. Look how rough this is. We've not done anything that I couldn't recreate in maybe the 20 minutes total we've been working on it. Don't stress it. Okay, so we were talking about stone texture. Now we can get into like, I would probably work this a little bit more, clean up a lot of these, potential areas that I think, I really think we could make a few adjustments with and really, really start to make it work. However, with time being limited, we can continue to move on. But adding texture to this, and I'm not talking like grabbing a texture from Substance or something like that, which would be cool. Don't get me wrong. But it doesn't take much to just look up reference and paint from that texture. Let's say we want this to be a little bit more stone-like. I'm going to zoom in here because you guys have been dealing with that zoomed out quite a bit. I don't want to get too close because I do like to work from a distance. I'm going to create a new layer, and I will probably merge this layer down shortly. But, you know, pull up any image of like carved, and you have to kind of maybe validate, or not validate, but verify what kind of stone texture you want to do. But I'm just going to talk about adding details on while using the perspective you're in and staying with the contours. So contours, if I were to draw contours on this, rough ones, we would have, this would basically be the contour of our shape. And the contours would also go this way. So that's a real rough, this is the head, contours are going like this. If we were to draw from this, that's the contour there, real rough. And if we went right over the eye, it would do something like this potentially, something like that. Probably less like that, but more like that. Anyway, point being, that's the contours. So if I'm just going to start taking this, and I did these real rough. I'm going to start erasing some of these out. Probably the ones that go over itself. Because there's also like materials will have like like wood has a grain. There's also potentially not necessarily fibers in stone, but it may crack a certain way. But I'm going to leave some of these, just hint at them, and it will already start to look like we have cracks going through this. Now, that's not the way I would do it. I just wanted to show that even just drawing the contours and then leaving a few, you can already see that it's starting to add a little bit of something. But I am going to go ahead and undo all of that. I'm just going to delete that. But on that same idea, I'm just going to start making, something that leads our eye around in the contour. And maybe we add a few little nicks, a few larger chunks that are out. Let's see, maybe there's one going up here. You don't have to follow the contour. All the contour, if you do follow the contour, all it is doing is emphasizing and assisting the shapes you're creating. Sometimes, even if the shapes are not quite right, if you, I suggest you getting all your perspectives correct. I suggest all of that. But even then, if it's like, I'm doing a sketch real quick and I didn't quite nail it, or I didn't quite get the perspective right, and you add in some rough contour lines or a rough detail that outlines, that contour, it helps the shape overall. Like it sells it. It can sell it just on that. Again, not recommending that. Don't think that's the way to go. But just as a note, these things can help you out. Let's see. So from there, what we're going to do, we're going to add a little highlights where our light would be catching over that rim. Our light is mostly down, so I'm not like making up any grand, lighting. Yeah, I'm not really making anything that's gonna really explode the image and make it look amazing, just with some quick highlights. But it adds a nice little detail. And the other thing to think about, if we're making this out of stone, it's probably a little bit more fragile on these edges than anything else. So that's where you might want to think about making some chipped areas. I wonder if they had children's, let's see, let me read, just reading chat a little bit. Cast iron, I like that. Looks catty to me, yes. Derek Bond, folks. Oh, thanks, Derek. So kind. Yes, so kind. All right, let's add a few more cracks to this, and we may even go. I mean, look, if we're gonna really preach the it's not precious, let's make it not precious. We get a chipped. I'm gonna merge this down, like I said I was gonna do. We get a chipped ear over here. Poor kitty, I know. Maybe we've gotten part of this tail is knocked out. I don't want to lose the main structure of this, but these also are places where I can come in here just with a shadow, just with that darker value and a highlight, and start really kind of making these chipped or broken areas look like that's what they are. I mean, we could take off an entire backside here if we wanted to. You know what? Let's do it. I'm going to take this, and then I'm just going to erase it out. So if we've lost that, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's on a layer behind it on the ground or something. I don't know. We've got a chunk here. Now, normally I would just go ahead and try to be precise with it, but I'm not doing that here. And if we're saying it's on the ground, we of course have to have a shadow, and that's a whole other thing as well. But that's okay. We're just hinting at these things. But that's another way you could just say, I'm going to make this precious. I'm going to do the thing. So you could break it up if you want. But I like it not broken. I like this thing as it is. Let's get in here and add some details. I want to emphasize some of this eye action. I think most of the eye would be in shadow, but this is a choice at this point. I want to give this eye a lid to give us more of a cat look to it. We could do something like this if we really want to be more specific. But yeah, let's just keep going with this. And if anybody has any questions, is it a chipped ear? Oh, it could be like on a feral cat. In fact, I do want to add a highlight to that. Like the poor little chunks from a stray cat. All right, let's keep on with these cracks and things. Making this kind of... It gives a character as well. You know, I mentioned, you know, potentially, like again, following the contour of this, but it also can give you can start to tell a story as well. I don't want to do too many that are so similar. Let's flip this around again just to check it out. Maybe we have a chunk out of this on this side. We have some some options. If we want to potentially, we could try to add color. We've got about 10 minutes. Sorry, a little, yeah, about 10 minutes ish. Not going to be much different than in tone for a stone. I mean, you know, we could add color to it. It could be a colored stone of some sort. Let's see what we can do with it. Because, you know, at this point, we're just having fun and trying to figure out how we want this thing to look. All right, I'm going to add a layer, new layer. Go over to our layer blend mode and change it to color. And I want this, let's say, to be sort of warm-ish. I'm going to go ahead and just clip it to our color there, our value painting. Go ahead and make this more stone-ish. I guess we could have gone blue as well. I'm going to just kind of get a mix here. Just letting things live. Just letting things figure it out for yourself, Stone. What are you? Because really, I don't mind that there's like a mix of value, color on this, going from that warm to kind of a gray green. Because then I'm going to add a new layer, and let's, you know, maybe we don't have fur on this cat. But maybe there's like mossy sections. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. We'll see. I know we already started in color, so now we're kind of... We don't have to stay in color. I could, you know, easily put a hue saturation adjustment layer to this, and then take that off. Take the saturation out if I wanted to. But I kind of like the idea of working in color. Thinking about where this moss might grow. Am I going to put this in a setting? Possibly. I haven't really gone that far. I mean, we like literally came up with it on the stream. If I were to, we can probably add a shadow here towards the end that might pop things out. But yeah, that can go a long way to storytelling too, which is a great point, Bruce. Oh, if it was opal, it'd have all the colors. Yeah. Isn't it opal that you have to gift someone? Isn't that a thing? I believe that's right. Like you can't buy it for yourself or something. I don't know who makes up these rules. I just occasionally hear about it. I don't know that I would actually adhere to them. But literally just scribbling this in, thinking about how it might grow. I'm not stressing it. Like, if it doesn't look right, we can change it. Again, anything made within this hour, within, you know, the few minutes that we have together, it's, you know, think about that when you actually have time to plan. You know, it really makes you think not any of this is really that precious. We can do it. We can do it again. We can do it multiple times. Maybe we have a spot on the back that really starts to show the green of it. And that will communicate to the rest of the places like, oh, those are all those value spots, those dark spots are actually a green color. And your eye will start to believe it, even with just a hint of the green. And drop a little shadow in under some of these pieces. All right. And speaking of shadow, let's drop a shadow under this before we wrap it up. I do want to share some resources for beginner and even intermediate at the end of this before I sign off. I'm going to try to remember. But let's see if we can add a little bit of a shadow to this guy, just to give it a ground plane. And it's mostly downward, so I'm not like super concerned. And I don't know if there'd be much of a fall off, but I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to use my smudge brush. Oh, lost camera. Can you guys still hear me? Oh, I'm frozen. Let's see. Can I turn this back on? See if it comes back. Hey, I think maybe we're back. I don't know what's happening. It's okay. We only have a few minutes left. Hopefully we can make it. So now your job is to send me a picture of that frozen frame, because I'm sure it is beautiful. All right, a little bit of a shadow. Not going to get crazy there. But yeah, let me share with you guys a few of these resources that I have real quick before we sign off. I want to make sure I'm not showing you. So yeah, first off is a couple of books. Now, one of these books, they're both great, and I have talked about them before. Let's go to full screen here. The first one is this, let me get the name right. It's kind of a long name. Mechanica, Creating the Art of Science Fiction with Doug Chang. And that's this book. I think there's a revised edition that came out, but there's a lot of really good walkthroughs. It's a lot of the same technique, I'm going to say that, but there's a lot of good drawings and a lot of perspective things in there that'll help you kind of along in that journey. And then there's the figure drawing for all it's worth, which is by Andrew Loomis. And I think you can probably find it online. I don't know if this is one of the ones that's free online, but there's a lot of Loomis info that is free for use. And then we've got some good YouTube recommendations. So drawbox.com, I believe that is the name of the one that Drawbox. This goes way back. This is very simple perspective drawings, but then they apply everything to your drawing. And you could easily draw something like this using those courses. I believe they're still all free. Then we've got the FZD School of Design, which is just a nice walkthrough of all sorts of concept art things. I think Jack has a link for that, as well as Proco. You probably all know them. They do tons of things with helping you learn how to draw. But yeah, I think this is going to be it for the stream. Look out for this. I think I'm going to be posting. There's going to be a lot of posts from Adventure Bound over the next few weeks. Yeah, those are the links. Thanks, Jack. I appreciate it. If you want to follow me on Instagram, you can. I believe maybe Jack can get a link for that as well. But let's see, wrapping it up here. It's been a lot of fun these past few weeks. I hope there was some things, even if it wasn't illustration specific, because we did go through, some InDesign stuff. But yeah, if we do come back, there will be multiple illustration-based, technique-based streams. We'll see what happens with that. Thanks, Alessandra, sending me that picture on Discord. Oh yeah, I do have a Discord. If you guys want to follow me there, please do so. And yeah, just to wrap up, I want to say thanks to everybody. I also want to remind everybody that there's always good content here, and there's more coming up today. We have Juxtapaint coming up next. Definitely stick around and watch that. It's always a good time. And yeah, I hope to see everybody real soon. Bye, everyone, and have a good one.